Okay. Okay, we are live. Today is 24th of September, and we have full house here. We have Craig, Motasam, Nikita, and me. And let's start. Well, Craig?
I had some code review comments given back to me today. Very constructive. A lot of help on my RSpec, which tends to frustrate me a little bit. But that went well, and I'm hoping that'll be merged at some point. There's nothing blocking me.
It is still hasn't merged.
No.
Mm-hmm. Why?
Because it's not been that long that I've finished fixing up everyone's requirements.
Okay. What plans do you have?
Nothing for the moment.
Oh, great. Okay. Motasam?
Okay. I just got my last PR merged for the orphan list. 2 tasks are done now, so remaining 2 more tasks. I'm planning to start working on them. If Craig does not have anything to work on currently, maybe I would use some help from him on those 2 tasks. And there is one thing I need to do as well, which is add pivotal tracker stories to related to Nick's sponsorship link creation story, describing how the client needs this functionality. So there might be 2 or 3 more stories for this. I need to add them as well.
Okay. Okay, Nikita?
So today was a big day for me. I submitted the pull request for this big story that I've been working on, the linking of a sponsor and an orphan. There is one task that is unchecked there, as you can see, and that was something I was hoping that Motasam can clarify for me. Sponsor status is active, inactive, and on hold, if I recall. Are we still supposed to be updating the sponsor status?
Sponsor status is updated by a user outside of the story. It has nothing to do with the...
Okay, so this task shouldn't be here then.
What you can do, I mean, originally I thought this task meant that checking that if the sponsor is inactive or on hold, then they are not allowed to sponsor any.
Okay, okay.
It's like a business rule that says check status before you apply the new sponsorship or allow them to new sponsorship.
Okay, so
yeah. They are active and they are allowed to sponsor somebody, then that will not change their status.
Okay, I see. So, okay, I had misunderstood what this task meant. Okay, so in that case, I'm basically backtracking on what I just said. I need to implement this check.
Yeah, and then there is an orphan sponsorship status.
Yeah.
That is a separate task, I believe.
So?
Okay, so basically where it stands is this last task that is unchecked. Now that I understand what it means, I need to finish that. I think it should be fairly straightforward. So this story is basically it's ready for code review at this point, and Craig has already started looking over my code and giving me valuable suggestions. And we actually 2 of the suggestions had to do with sort of more high level stuff. I'm still reading those links you shared, Craig, about sticking to the rules about GET requests. So I suppose if we decide to stick to the spec.
I don't think it even. Well, I mean, and maybe it's a separate conversation. I mean, I don't think it should hold up your story. I just think that while we're talking, while it's there and on the table, we need to talk about it and make agreement for the future. I mean, if the UI is going to change, which I think it is, then for this, it's probably not a big deal. And I don't know whether sometimes I'm being overly paranoid, but from experience, these things tend to come and bite us when we're least expecting it. And it's quite often outside of our control, which is the worrying bit for me.
Right.
But you know, as I say, whatever we decide, it shouldn't. I don't think it should really hold your story up. So.
Okay, so how about we keep that discussion going? But okay.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So guys, tomorrow we have client meeting, right?
Yes.
So we are going to finish. Yeah. We are going to finish all stories that we started until that meeting, so we can show it to a client. Are we ready to show it? Them.
My story, the add orphan list, it will not be. I mean, the remaining tasks are related to this file storage, whether we store it in the database or on S3. So I can show it to them, but it won't be the final version.
It doesn't matter. If it is the story, like if it agreed with that story, then you should show it. Yeah, I mean that we still have like every few have pull requests, so it may take more than 1 day to merge pull request, or not.
Well, I think, I mean, Nick's written War and Peace already, so I don't want to. I don't want to put more pressure on him, but I think possibly that last part of his story won't be too big. Is there a chance of finishing that?
Yeah, well, the task that's left undone is definitely easy to implement. The other part that you and I talked about, this making everything more restful, I think that should be fairly straightforward as well.
If it's not as well, you know, we can merge and we can write a chore.
I mean, I definitely, at this point, Motosim, I would very much like for you to have a look at my code as well, because it is a substantial story.
I looked at the Heroku instance, but I did not look at the code. I saw so many different comments, so I did not want to get in between that session, but yeah, I will.
Okay.
Okay, and also...
Sorry.
Yeah, I'll just finish, Craig. Sorry. Yeah, if you guys can spend time on Heroku and just poke around it, actually, Craig, the thing that you found where the application crashed because that link was where it shouldn't have been, you know, that's definitely the kind of an edge case that I didn't even think to test for. So it's you know, stuff like that is only going to come from people purposely trying to screw things up. So regarding whether or not it can be finished, I think I can finish writing the code. Whether or not you know, we can reasonably review it tomorrow, I guess, is another question.
Yeah, we should try. So, in order to show client all stories.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pavel, would it be okay to show this story, for example, on my Heroku instance, or it really should be shown on our staging server?
Well, it's better, of course, to show on our staging server, but in reality, if we can't do that, it's at least we should show it on your server.
Okay,
yes.
So that could be a backup plan.
Yes, it's a backup
for tomorrow evening.
We should have a backup plan. Yeah. Okay. I saw that too many stories in Icebox again in phase 0. What's happened? It was like only 2 or 3 stories in phase 0, and now we have a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, remember originally I left some of those when I was adding stories. I did not tag all of them with phase 1 or phase 0. Now I went through again the whole list and made sure that things that are required by the client to be in phase 0, I tag them phase 0.
So phase 0, it's the phase where client will start working with a product, right?
Yeah.
Yes, they will start entering real production data and start using it. Yes.
So after tomorrow demo, our client still cannot use our product, or can?
No, they cannot.
No, cannot. Okay, and what I have a gut feeling about that these stories in phase 0 are appearing faster when we can resolving them, and in this case we can work forever. How can we manage with that?
I'm optimistic that they'll start slowing down.
Yeah, I don't know if I share Craig's optimism. But I would say that maybe we need to maybe just explain to the client what phase 0 means to us.
Because just a simple example, country drop-down list. It is about UI, use of UI. It cannot be really necessary, really viable thing to run the product. Client can.
For example, for this particular story, I put it as phase 0 because if I don't give it to them, they will start entering country names by hand, and then if that happens in production, when we switch to the list, then we might have mismatching, misspelled countries.
No,
then
you have a dictionary. You should have a dictionary, no?
Yeah, but
well, I think it'll be as trivial.
The story is to put the dictionary in.
Ah, we do not have dictionary for country.
Mm.
No, not at the moment.
Ah, okay, then maybe, yeah.
But other things, for example, just looking at the top of the list, orphan priority. If they cannot set orphan priority too high right now, is it breaking the application or is it an inconvenience?
I think this is important because remember the final vision of how they will create the sponsorships is that when they click add a sponsor, add an orphan, it will take them to a list of eligible orphans, and they want that sorted by priority first.
Okay.
And
it's not viable function to the project, really. How many orphans do they have?
But okay, but can I ask a question? I mean, if we've got the functionality where they're going to a list of orphans, then sorting it by priority is actually relatively trivial, isn't it? Because it's just an active record query.
I don't know, guys. 2 points.
Yeah. But we need to add that column to the orphan model.
Okay.
It's not that easy here. Yeah. Okay, it's just my gut feeling. Maybe I'm incorrect, but it seems that our scope is creeping, for phase 0. And it is much better when client would start working on the project, working on our system, and then stories will be much more precisely than they are now. Because for now, we have no ideas what they will see,
Well, do we have that conversation tomorrow and just say, the longer phase 0 takes to implement, or the more features that we get, the further and further out that delivery is going to be.
Yeah, we should. Anyone wants to vote on the story, or we'll wait until demo and then decide?
I think we can do voting now.
We can do, okay.
Well, that's what I think.
Okay, let's spend 10 minutes for voting. Okay. Capture sponsor request regarding how many orphans we want to sponsor. Motasem?
Yes, this is when a new sponsor joins OSRA team. They will give them a requirement saying this is the number of orphans I'm willing to sponsor, so that the OSRA team will know how many orphans to link them with. So we need to add a field in the model to capture that number, that integer, and display it on the sponsor page and make it editable, of course. If later, for example, that sponsor changes, add more orphans to, for example, the request.
Mm-hmm.
And that will link to the creation of the sponsorship, because once we reach that number of orphans already sponsored by this particular sponsor, we know they've got their request fulfilled, so we don't allow, we don't put them in a list of, for example, sponsors waiting for orphans.
Mm-hmm.
So we need the field in the table and the UI and make it editable in the edit form.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems reasonable. So what should we do? We should just add the field, add
To the database and to the UI.
a field requested orphan count to the database. When we should add a field to add the field
To the create and edit view.
to create and edit view. Should we add it to index view? Only create and edit? It seems strange.
I think, well, we can add it to index. Because sponsor, maybe edit. Yeah, because maybe they might want to sort based on that to see
Okay.
who has the request unfulfilled.
Okay, and we need to add business validation, right? No, sorry, it's from my project. Validation for positive integer, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it must be greater than or equal to 1.
To field. But it's different thing to do. Okay. Any other tasks to make this story?
Does the client expect us to, say, decrement the count every time? No, nothing like that. So this is they just keep track of it by eye, basically.
They set it, yes, and they keep it updated if changes happen to the requirements of the sponsor. What we would do later when we finalize the sponsorship creation is that we'll have a table below the sponsor in the sponsor flow with that many rows in it.
Okay, everyone can vote or have other questions.
No, sorry.
Okay, well, I count from 3 to 0 and we start. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh my god.
Fight.
Okay. Fight. Okay, Craig, why 2?
Because we're trying to make tasks smaller and smaller and smaller, and it's not completely trivial. We've got to write a migration for it, and but it's not incredibly complex. So I'm going for middle of the road.
Well, we have orphan priority task story, and this story seems to be very similar to request orphan count. Create attribute. It's the same, right? To orphan model and to a database. Update, edit orphan.
But that's a Boolean.
Huh?
That one is a Boolean, or I mean high priority, low priority, and this is
doesn't
integer.
matter.
Yeah,
it
exactly.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. It's just have also fill in the field with normal value, and for here we do not have fill in with a field. That's the difference. But here we have 2 pages. Guys, I will stick to 2 because we should be consistent in our decisions, and that story was 2. Really. I don't know, Nikita, what do you think? Can you agree with 2 or it's better? Yeah.
I can agree with 2. I originally had 2 in there when I thought that we were expected to manage that number as well. That, for example, every time you add an orphan, you subtract 1 from the number, or you have some kind of indication on the sponsor page when the number of requests has been fulfilled. In the absence of something like that, it seems very straightforward. I mean,
yes, very straightforward.
It's a migration. It's you add 1 line of code to the form within ActiveAdmin and one line of code to the index.
And you've got feature refactoring as well because it's a compulsory field.
Yeah, but because you have like free fields here in edit, in index, and in create, you should create many tests, and validation, you should create tests for validation, which actually wasn't in orphan model, in orphan priority storage. So in comparison, this looks like the same size.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Is it a compulsory field, Morrison?
Yes.
In the notes, it says field should be mandatory when creating a new sponsor.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, next story. It will be two. The next story, keep track of whether or not sponsors' requests have been fulfilled.
That's the one. Okay.
This is a very similar field, but it's a Boolean field. Whether that is set by the user, and just it says yes or no for if the sponsor's request have been fulfilled. Sponsor's request is not only the number of orphans. They might have special requests on the type of orphans they want, the location, for example, the age. So all of those will be checked by the user, and if all of them have been fulfilled, the user will set this to true. If not, that will show it to false. And if it is set to true, that will affect other pages where, for example, when we're trying to link a new orphan, we don't show that sponsor because already his request has been fulfilled. So it's similar.
Can I ask a question? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's similar to that one because we just add a new field and show it and edit it.
That's very strange.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So someone sets it to true, and then they go into the UI that Nick's just created, and they delete a sponsor. Oh, sorry, delete a sponsorship, and delete an orphan from the sponsorship. Does that automatically set that to false? Or
currently, the client did not ask for anything like this. They specifically said that this field is editable by the user. They will set it to true or false manually.
Then we're starting to have data diverge, aren't we?
I personally against this idea because I think it's very like true or false, fulfilled or not. Why we can't use just command to do it? I don't know, just description command. Why?
But as I explained, the request itself is not just a number. The request could be, for example, this sponsor requires or is asking for 5 orphans, 3 of them from this province, 2 of them from this province. 1 is in this age range. He wants 1 boy, 3 girls. I mean, see, this type of requirements will just be captured in a text field. Then the user will look at all of this and will decide whether...
It doesn't matter. You can write it in command. Why should you use this field? Because, for example, with sponsor had wanted to have like 3 orphans to I don't know how to say it,
Well, they do write it down at the moment. They have a requirements field. I think what Motterson wants is a checkbox for someone to confirm that their requirements have been met.
But what if their requirements will change? What will happen then?
Well, that was my question.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big point.
Delete something, or if the requirements field is written over, I think we should have a callback to...
In this case, we should implement that requirement and fulfilling of requirement table. For each sponsor, we should have requirement table. When, for example, that sponsor say, I want to have 3 orphans, and when we should fulfill his requirement, and when he said write new requirement, and that's it. So it's not about sponsor request only with 1 field in the sponsor. It should be dynamic table when requirements can be made, and you should check if they're fulfilled or not. Because in other case, you always will click this button on and then off. When on, then off. It's something really strange, and you cannot look at the history of that. You cannot You cannot learn lessons and so on. It's strange for me.
If I may voice my opinion, I would say that if this is something the client wants, and their intention is to use this attribute basically to sort sponsors into those whose requests have been met and those who haven't, then perhaps for phase 0 this implementation is sufficient. And if the client, in the process of working with the application, then discovers that, okay, we're forgetting to uncheck that box when requirements change, or we're forgetting to check it when we've given all the orphans that the sponsor asked for, then that becomes a new story. But right now, if all they want is a Boolean field that says this sponsor should be at the top of the list or at the bottom of the list, why not give it to them?
We can. It's just strange for me, but yeah, guys, we can. So, what tasks should be done here?
Well, we need a field put in the database.
A field into a field request full field in the database.
We've lost Motosim. We've lost Motosim, it looks like.
He's back.
He's back.
Oh, yeah. Okay, what else? Request fulfilled in the database. What else?
So it needs to be on the views.
Yeah.
Yes, added the field to the what we use index, show, and index, edit, and show, or what else? Create.
Probably not on create, because it doesn't make a lot of sense to have requirements fulfilled at the very beginning.
Index and edit.
Yeah.
It should default to false, of course, when we create.
Edit view.
Okay.
Seed. No, not seed. It should be false. Okay, but it's not a task, actually. What else? That's it? Validation? No? No validation. No validation.
It's a Boolean, there isn't much
It's
to
a Boolean.
But there needs to be a method on the model that sets this to false on create, right?
Yeah, this will be part of, like, we have defaults for the status, for example, when we create.
Should we make it as a different task or not?
Well, if it's a method on the model, then I think it should be a different, a separate task. Yeah.
Method in the model. Okay. Okay. Can we vote?
Yep.
Sure.
Then
Yes,
do that.
I'll vote over the phone by voice.
Okay, no problem. 3, 2, 1, go. Sorry. Okay, guys, 2. Yeah, 2. I don't know why I said 1, actually. I think I'm stupid. Yeah, 2. Okay.
Just keeping us on our toes.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2. Okay, guys, I gotta go. My children waiting for me. If you want to vote one more story, feel free to do that. Or we can go and relax. We have 1, 4, 5, 7, 9. We almost have all tasks for the next sprint, actually. But anyway.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm okay to go and relax then.
Okay. When when I hope tomorrow maybe we can. Yeah. We can.
So guys, wait, one last thing. The client meeting tomorrow is at what time?
6 p.m. UTC.
6 p.m. UTC. Okay.
I won't be there for the first half certainly. So apologies, but I'll
No
jump
problem.
in as soon as I can.
Awesome. Yeah, try to warm up the client in the first half an hour. You know.
Tell some jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you need to Craig and Nikita to participate, and they will participate in the next half an hour. You know. So yeah, really
Yeah.
try to say some jokes
So-
about it.
Pavel, you'll be there on time, or also
Yeah,
you'll be...
I will be there on time.
Okay.
But I'm better at making jokes, so sorry.
Okay, no.
You
We're
can
gonna do
do a
some
magic.
research, guys.
Can you do a magic show, Pavel?
Oh yeah.
Magic show. I should, yeah. Okay, guys, thank you. Today was a productive Scrum, I hope, and see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Take
See you
care.
tomorrow.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.